Hello and welcome to a special edition of Starside Chat After Dark. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Hey, it's going well. It's, I guess, the Christmas episode, the pre-Christmas episode. This will probably
not necessarily.
Not necessarily Christmassy, I guess, but it'll be the last episode of this year.
Yeah, and not necessarily an end-of-year episode. We're going to be doing, like, top 10s later on, but we had to convene. We usually record in the mornings, but now we're recording in the evening because we had to talk about the Game Awards that happened last week.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of news before we jump into that, though. A game that I know you have sort of been following is Tunic, which looks very Zelda-like. Got an announced release date for March 16th. So that's kind of cool to at least finally have a release date for that game.
Yeah, I feel like that's been in development forever.
Yeah, I feel like we saw this at E3 like years ago already. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think is pretty fun, Destiny 2's Dawning Holiday event is now live. That happened this week. That's their sort of Christmas event. It's free to play, so you can jump in and get some cosmetic items. And I think they have like a sword that freezes enemies that looks kind of cool. So you can get that. It's sort of taking place at the same time as the 30th anniversary. So there's like some other fun stuff that's already happening in the game. So there's kind of a lot going on in Destiny right now. I've played some of the 6-man activity that they have going on for the 30th anniversary event. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty fun. And of course they brought the Halo weapons, so I've been using those and they're a lot of fun. So I might jump in and see if I can make some progress in this Dawning event as well. But also releasing this week, Animal Royale came to Stadia. I think it kind of coincides with Season 2. I saw PlayStation and was it maybe not Nintendo? Is it out on Nintendo? I don't know. Anyway, I saw other platforms showing trailers that the Season 2 was just starting. So Animal Royale is now also on Stadia. This is a free-to-play battle royale game that's kind of isometric, but you play as like kind of cutesy little animals. Have you seen this game?
Yeah, it is isometric. I'm trying to think of another game that kind of has that same art style. It's very cute, and it's very weird to see a battle royale to me that is like top down. But I think it works
because in pretty much every other way, it's exactly like what is that game?
PUBG.
Yeah. It's exactly like PUBG, but it's like isometric and with cutesy animals. And I want to say it's sort of twin stick like from the footage I've seen.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
The art style kind of reminds me. Did you ever watch Happy Tree Friends?
Yes, it does look like that. Yeah.
For those that don't know, Happy Tree Friends was a goofy like web show about like cutesy animated creatures dying in like horrific, very gruesome
You're dating
ways.
Us, Zach.
Yeah, I guess that's true. This was like, was this
old school internet?
Sort of after the Homestar Runner days?
I think it was concurrent with.
Yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, the next little news item is Inscryption, that very popular indie game, added a free roguelike expansion, which, I mean, the game already seems kind of roguelike, but I guess this is more like you can now sort of see how far you can go.
Yeah, there's like an endless mode.
Yeah, and like an endless mode for its card battle system, which could be fun. And then the last little news item for this week is The Gunk is now, or will be out this week. It's not out as of this recording, but it will be out. This game is going to be on Game Pass, so I guess if you want to play something for free or no extra cost, go ahead and download The Gunk. It's by the makers of the Steam World series. This was shown
Oh,
during
I didn't know that.
that Thunderful game showcase like a month or two ago. I forget
Yes,
when that
I do
was.
remember this now. Yeah, I was wondering what this was, but I totally forgot about it until just when you said that.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool to me. I wouldn't mind checking this out. And like I said, it is on Game Pass, so I might check it out. It's just gonna, like, I'm in the middle of Halo as well, so
Yeah.
for it being December, it seems like a lot of things are happening. So, speaking of which, the Game Awards happen.
Let's dive into it because we both watched the live stream, but I tuned in for the pre-show, and in the pre-show they had one of the most exciting announcements I texted you about. Telltale Games still exists, I guess, and they're making an Expanse game series. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so I really love The Expanse. I know you've been getting caught
As
up
do
on
I.
the previous season.
Yes.
And the new season and the final season is actually now going up. The first episode's out as of this recording. I don't think the second episode is, or maybe it is. I'm not sure what day those episodes go up, but I've seen the first episode. I'm liking it. I'm into it. Very curious to see where the show is going and how they're going to wrap everything up this season. So I will definitely play this, the Telltale series in The Expanse.
Yeah, I think
Seems
so.
like
So I guess it follows the drummer character, it seems like.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there are several ways you could go just following drummer. Like, you could go before she met Fred Johnson, or, I don't know, like, in the time that's sort of, like, concurrent with where she's at sort of in, I think, season 5, or, like, where she's at currently, where she's sort of, I guess you would consider her sort of a rogue belter, because the main bad guy of the last 2 seasons has sort of like taken the belt in a very hostile direction. And so she's sort of kind of off on her own, and she's sort of not necessarily a friend of the Inners, but also not a friend of the Belters. So, I mean, there's interesting things you could do there. I don't know how much they're going off of like what's in the books. I'm also not an expert on the books, but I mean, I don't know. I'm into this. I will play that.
So then the show started, and the first really big reveal, a lot of reveals. I guess, well, do you want to talk about how we liked the show overall, or should we just get into like piece by piece what it was?
Yeah, I mean, the show is weird. It's kind of become more of like the emphasis is more on the reveals, it seems like,
Which I like. I'm into that.
Really? Like the awards themselves almost feel like kind of back burner a little bit, because they just sort of like gloss over some of them. Like, I think they even gave out some of the awards during the pre-show that I did not tune in for. So
yeah, they did do that.
And if they're gonna make it more about the reveals, like, I'm into that conceptually, but like they kind of have to follow your criteria for like a good press conference if they're going to go that route, and I don't think they did.
No, I was, not to spoil the ending, but there was no ending. There was not a one more thing, which I was pretty bummed about, because there was such a good one more thing last year when he had that Elden Ring reveal.
Yeah.
But maybe there was going to be something that kind of fell through, who knows, but they ended on the Matrix, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the first big thing was Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga. And this was a crazy game that I am not sure how is played.
Yeah.
But, I mean, visually it was very beautiful. It was very striking.
It was. Didn't Keeley say something like he couldn't believe that it was actual gameplay? Like, was it
I also
gameplay
can't believe that
we were seeing? Or was it like some sort of, I don't know, some sort of cutscene?
Even when there was interactivity, like when she was throwing those spears, those lighted spears, they didn't do anything. Like, I don't think she was affecting anything. It was basically just like pressing a button to change a color. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to play it. I didn't play the first one. I also believe the first one was maybe not super interactive. I didn't play it, but I think it was just kind of like walking around and listening to people whisper at you.
I don't know much about these games, so yeah, I don't know.
I remember being really blown away by the first time we saw this Hellblade 2. Remember that maybe it was like 2 E3s ago where it was just like a close up of her talking really crazily and there was like she had like blood on her face and stuff and it was one of the first PS5 or like next gen reveals. That was super interesting, but I was not blown away by what we saw. I mean, it is super cool to have these like big monsters that are chasing after you, but I really don't know.
Like Attack on Titan, where the thing that's like following her is just like a big human. And it's very confusing as to what's going on because I don't have the context from the first game.
Yeah, who knows?
So, yeah, it was one of those things that like maybe because I was so confused as to what was going on, I was also like not drawn in any way to what was happening. So I'm not sure it was effective in terms of like bringing in a new audience, but if anybody played the first one and was super into it, I feel like maybe they will be more into this trailer.
What do you think about this Star Wars Eclipse? This was another thing that people seemed excited about.
Yeah, I mean, anytime it's Star Wars anything, it's going to be relatively exciting for some people. It was weird because was it like there was somebody drumming. I remember that being a big element of it, and it seems like they're kind of cutting back and forth a little bit between like live action and or like CG, like pre-rendered cutscene, and like maybe some sort of gameplay.
I don't know. I think that was all CG.
You think it was all CG cinematic? Yeah, that probably was actually. But so this is Quantic Dream. This is the team that did
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit Become Human, and what was that game on PlayStation 3?
Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain, which I feel like is more a meme now than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know if those games are necessarily my style. They seem like very heavy on like QuickTime events, and I'm curious what they will do with that in this type of a game. I mean, it's more probably the most interesting Quantic Dream game to me personally, just because it's Star Wars, but also it's Quantic Dream, and I don't know what to make of that. So it could be a really good story, but it also could be something that is not very fun to play.
I don't remember Lost Ark. You have to refresh my memory.
This is an Amazon MMO. I feel like this is actually out in like Asian markets, and they're just like bringing it over to the US. And I also feel like I've seen some gameplay of it. It's it's an MMO. It's sort of isometric view. Not super interesting to me, to be honest. I don't know about if you really like MMOs that much, but
I have not found one. I mean, the closest I've ever gotten into an MMO is like Destiny. However, if you would even call that an MMO, but I've never done like any kind of WoW or anything like that.
Right.
What do you think about this Monolith game?
Wonder Woman. So the team that made Shadow of Mordor is making a Wonder Woman game, which that's pretty crazy. But I mean, big superhero games seem to be like the direction the games industry is going. Between like all the Insomniac Spider-Man games and Wolverine, you had Guardians of the Galaxy this year. There's this game, and not to jump too far ahead, but there's also a Suicide Squad game coming out. Like comic book video games are maybe the next big place for comic books, because movies, I feel like comic book movies are maybe on the way out a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like they're faltering a little, although this is the week that Spider-Man No Way Home comes out.
Yeah, that'll probably do well. I mean, it's Spider-Man, and they've got like an interesting trick up their sleeve with like other iterations of Spider-Man sort of being included in this one to make people very curious. So I don't know. I mean, I liked Shadow of Mordor, so I'm curious to see what they would do with this. I'm not really a Wonder Woman fan, though, to be honest. So
I didn't super. I liked the first Wonder Woman movie, but I found the second one to be a bit of a mess.
It was an absolute mess, is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very weird choices were made. But I don't know. I mean, I like a whip. Like, I really enjoyed Darksiders 3, I want to say. Was that the one where you were the girl with the whip?
I think so.
Wrath?
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
I like a whip in a game, I have to say. So if it's all about like swinging around and like whipping people, I think I'm into that.
Yeah, I mean,
guess she's a lasso.
She could technically be Spider-Maning around.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's a fair point. Plus, she's got the sword and the shield, so she could sort of God of War style, I mean, or it could basically just be what Shadow of Mordor was, but with Wonder Woman instead of like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I wonder if it would be urban. Like, I wonder if she would be in a city or if it would be like on the Amazon island and it would be all fantastical.
Oh, that's a good question. Also, will they have the Nemesis system in this game?
Good question. Because, I mean, I don't know anything about Wonder Woman lore. All I know is she can let people tell the truth. So, like, wasn't that a thing in the Shadow of Mordor where you would, like, capture someone and make them tell the truth?
Yeah. I feel like you could capture somebody and force them to give you information. So maybe that's a thing that they could sort of port over. There might be more parallels to Shadow of Mordor and Wonder Woman than I initially thought about. But yeah.
I am excited for this Alan Wake game.
Are you?
I've now played Alan Wake 1, but I loved Control. And you played Control, right?
Some of it. I did not finish it.
I got the first DLC for Control, which was very cool, but I never got the second one for whatever reason. And the second one was just an Alan Wake thing. Because he exists in the same universe.
Right.
And so I am not sure how this is going to play, but if it like super incorporates Control, I'm all about that.
I've heard it will be more survival horror than the last Alan Wake.
Oh, really?
So potentially
the first Alan Wake was pretty survival horror, wasn't it?
I'm not sure what that game was, to be honest. I never played it. I know that there's like a remastered version that just came out like within the last month or two or like couple of months. So, I mean, you could always pick that up and play through that before Alan Wake 2 comes out, but you've got until 2023 for that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the one note that I've heard about Alan Wake 2 that it was going to be more survival horror than the previous one. I think the previous one was more like mystery, but it was like spooky. And so maybe this one will be a little bit more Resident Evil almost.
I'm interested. I love this world. I love man, what was it called? What was like the Bureau? I don't even remember.
I think
Bureau
it was
of
just
Control.
the Bureau. Yeah. I think you're right.
I want more control, I guess, is what I really want.
You want control too.
Yeah, hopefully Jesse will show up in this one.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Now, we talked a little bit about how they put more of an emphasis on reveals and less of an emphasis on awards. Let me let you into my world about how I watch award shows.
Okay.
When someone starts talking or I can tell they're doing a bit, I mute the TV and I wait for that to stop happening. And so when they revealed Sonic the Hedgehog 2, my TV was mostly on mute because Ben Schwartz was, I assume, doing a bunch of hilarious bits that I just did not want to see. But then the trailer happened and I unmuted it, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch the trailers for Sonic the Hedgehog, the movies, I just hear Ben Schwartz.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I like people love it.
Yeah.
People love the first Sonic the Hedgehog. They say it's the best like video game movie ever made. But I watched the trailer and I just hear Ben Schwartz.
Yeah.
And
I'm interested. Like, I will watch this, but
yeah. Did you watch the first one?
I did. Yeah. I think I waited until it came out on like, streaming services. I think I waited until it was free on Netflix because I was not super interested in it, but I was interested enough to eventually check it out. But This one I will probably do the same for, unless I hear it's really super good.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind watching these movies, but I'm like you. I'm not going to rush out to go see them.
Yeah.
I still need to catch up with the first one, so.
What do you think about this Horizon Forbidden West?
I think I'm going to play that game. And I think, so you need to see this new trailer they had. Just to get an idea of like the creature design that they have going for them in this game. There's a creature towards the end of this trailer that's basically like a giant serpent that like slithers up and goes around this like rock formation, and it is insane looking. And like, I don't know, I have an appreciation for like cool, crazy like creature design, and because all of the monsters and creatures or animals in this game are not like real animals, they are just giant robots basically. The design is just crazy what they do with these, and so I definitely have a respect for their creature design, and just like the overall look of this game is maybe the most next-gen looking thing I've seen yet. And so I'm excited to play it. I was sort of so-so on the first one just because I didn't really love the story. But the gameplay I thought was great. I had a lot of fun with like the stealth mechanics, and like the bow mechanics were really good. And just like fighting the different monsters they had, I thought was really cool. And like the dialogue system they had was very similar to Mass Effect as well, where you sort of have that little that little wheel, and so you're picking your dialogue choices and making decisions that way. So they have some sort of Mass Effect-y style conversations working for them. So there are elements that I like about Horizon, even if I don't think it's necessarily like my top priority in terms of like game franchises I'm looking forward to, but I will definitely play this.
And then something we both already played, they revealed Final Fantasy VII Remake this was Integrate. This is coming out on PC. This is that Yuffie DLC that came out for just PS5.
Yeah, I played it on PS5 earlier this year, and it was great. I mean, it's short, but it was very good. So definitely recommend picking that up if you play it on PC.
Destiny 2, The Witch Queen is right around the corner in February. They revealed some more gameplay.
That's one of the trio of big game drops that are happening in February. So you got Elden Ring, you got Horizon Forbidden West, and you got Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. So it's going to be a crazy time in February. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I've liked what they've been doing with Destiny lately, so I'll definitely play that.
I just clicked on the next item because I did not remember it, and I kind of remember it now, but what do you think about this Nightingale? It looks like New World to me, that MMO, but not that.
Yeah, maybe it's just because the way the character is dressed, but it did, like, when I first was watching this trailer, I was like, is this just New World, or is that, like, a style
they have, like,
thing?
muskets and stuff.
Yeah, and it is sort of like a weird sort of fantasy setting, and you're dealing with weird creatures, but you also, like, Spanish Inquisition era, I guess, is maybe what I'm thinking.
Portals? There's portals?
Yeah, and there are portals. It seems like if you watch the trailer, it seems like there's some sort of building aspect. Like maybe you're building up
for sure
things. So you might be like harvesting resources, which again, very New World. You're just, in New World, you're not necessarily building a settlement and like building buildings, but you are like harvesting materials everywhere you go. But this is Inflection Games, so this is like a new studio run by Aaron Flynn, formerly of BioWare, like during the heyday of Mass Effect. So I'm curious to see what he makes. The description on the Nightingale website says it's a shared world survival crafting game set in an all-new fantasy universe. So I don't know if that is necessarily my genre. It sounds almost like, what was that, Valheim?
Sounds like New World. Oh yeah, it does sound like Valheim, kind of.
Like Valheim, but maybe a little bit more story-driven. I guess I don't know how story-driven Valheim was, but we'll see. I don't know. There's no sort of sense of when this may come out, so
no.
Still, I would imagine still fairly early on.
I would agree with that. Golem? Do you care about Golem, the untold story?
I say Gollum, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it is Golem, yeah.
I feel like this is 5-10 years too late.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Lord of the Rings had its day in the sun, and I love Lord of the Rings. Like, my family, it's a tradition every time, this time of year actually, like right around Christmas and New Year's, we're like, for whatever reason, it's become a tradition to marathon those movies again. I think it's because they originally came out in theaters around this time of year, but
that is true. It was like every Christmas, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. Like, I also am into Lord of the Rings as far as like I've watched all the movies and whatnot. I've never watched the special editions that are like an extra like 5 hours or whatever. But of all the characters to focus on, like, I feel like we know Gollum's story, and he definitely, I mean, spoilers for Lord of the Rings, but he definitely dies and gets like burned in lava.
Yeah, we've seen the climax of his story.
Yeah, like, I don't want to get invested in this character and have a bunch of fun, and then just like the last scene is him jumping into a volcano.
It is one of those things where it was like, if I had to list out the characters from the Lord of the Rings trilogy in order of ones I would want like a game based on, he would be relatively low on the list, I would think.
So many other characters you could have done this with, and I get they want to do like a stealth thing and you're like hanging out in caves or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. Like, at the end of the day, who cares about Golem, or Gollum rather?
I mean, is this during the era where he has the ring still, or is he after the ring and you know he's just not gonna get it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because again, yeah, if the timeline is concurrent with the books, then there's not really going to be a lot of room for surprises.
Yeah. This is one of those,
thumbs down
like,
from Aaron.
This is like one of those Black Widow things where it's like, I mean, we already know what happens to Black Widow. Yeah. You don't need to make a movie about her now.
Yeah, very weird. But something I am super excited about is the next thing, Somerville, which I was very pumped to get footage of, and I will be buying this on day one.
Yeah, did I miss when it is coming out, or did they not say?
I don't believe that let me scrub through this trailer real quick, but they may have just said like 2022 or... No, I don't even think they said that. But man, am I excited about this, because I loved Limbo and I loved Inside. I played Inside twice fully through just to like, because I played it with two different people. And this looks crazy. This looks really good. This looks like, building upon the theme, and I think it is also not just going to be 2D. I think it's going to have like 3D elements, which I'm excited about.
Yeah,
but this looks great. What were your thoughts on this?
Same thing. I liked Limbo and Inside quite a bit, and so this looks like it's not that same development team, but it is like one of the people that worked on that game that made their own studio, and so obviously the inspiration is there. But yeah, it looks like during some segments you're like flying around in like a spaceship. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But yeah, it looked like great art style, good pedigree of like games from this developer. So I'm excited for it as well.
Cuphead came out forever ago, and they're finally going to release that DLC in June of 2020.
Yeah, I think this is the second one, right? Didn't they do one already?
Did they already do a DLC? I thought they were just working on this one forever.
Maybe you're right. I thought they had done one already, but maybe they were just working on this one for forever, and it's just now coming out. I don't know. I never followed up on Cuphead because I played a bunch of it when it first came out, but it's a very hard game, and I got stuck.
Yeah, I agree.
And fell off of it, but...
Out on Switch now as well.
It is. and I love the art style. I love the like old sort of retro cartoon, like 1930s or 40s animation style. Very cool. I don't know if I will play it, but it's very cool.
Here's something I will play. What did you think about... Everyone is calling the new Sonic Frontiers game Sonic Breath of the Wild. How accurate do you think that is?
I don't think it'll be like a full open world, but
that would be good though. That would be pretty cool though.
It would be. I would be more into it if it was that, but I kind of almost don't think it will be. But yeah, I think it looks... That's what they're going for with the trailer for sure.
The problem with I think all of 3D Sonic games is they try to make the 3D Sonic games like the 2D Sonic games where you're just going down tracks, and it's kind of like there's not a lot of improvisation. You're sort of just going down a track, you jump and like turn to a ball sometimes. Sonic 06 is famously terrible, but I think if they, took lessons from Breath of the Wild and you had nice wide open spaces to run, I think that would make it super fun and a lot more playable. And if this is what this could be a big deal. This could be like the second coming for Sonic.
Do you think he'll be able to climb, or is he just gonna have to like go into the ball and go super speed mode to go up like slopes?
He's gonna have bounce pads probably. He's gonna have those springs that go boing.
I don't know. It's strange to me that Sonic is such an animated character and his environment is so realistic looking. It is crazy, yeah, how realistic it is. I don't know what to make of it. Like, I know that's what they did with the movie, but I don't know. I've never been a Sonic person, to be honest. Like, I didn't grow up with that series, so I don't know what to make of any of it.
What's this? Guillermo del Toro movie, Nightmare Alley? What do you think about this? It looked kind of cool. I like Guillermo del Toro, so I will probably watch it, but I don't know. This seemed like Jeff Keighley is friends with Guillermo del Toro now that, they were both in Death Stranding, and they have that sort of connection between with Hideo Kojima. Yeah, Hideo Kojima. So he found a way to get him into the show. So I don't know. Were you interested in it? I don't know. Not super into like that super artistic horror genre. Yeah. I don't really like horror movies in general, even though I acknowledge that some of them are very good. I think the last movie he did that was that, oh gosh, I'm gonna blank on the name of it, but it had the guy who plays Loki in it, and it was it The Shape of Water? Oh no, that was his last one. Then I'm thinking of the one before that. It was like Crimson something. Crimson Peak? Yeah, maybe? Crimson Peak, I think is what it was. I liked that movie. That was sort of a Victorian horror style movie, but it was also I thought it was good. I'm also not a horror movie person, but for some reason I enjoyed that movie. I liked The Shape of Water a lot. I never saw it. It was really good. I liked it a lot. Yeah. I've been meaning to see that ever since it came out and got like all the awards at the Academy Awards. It won the Oscar, didn't he? It won Best Picture. Yeah. I think he earned it. Chia, I think is what it is. Oh, Chia. But it could be T'Chai tea. Maybe that's what it is. This is like Breath of the Wild again. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that a lot. I think another Breath of the Wild like. Maybe, but you can like possess not just animals but things as well. I don't know what to make of this game. Yeah, it does look like you have this ability to sort of cast yourself. Maybe it's trying to combine Super Mario Odyssey with Breath of the Wild. Now you're talking my language. That sounds great to me. Like what? I don't super love the art style. Yeah, I don't think I'm very fond of the art style either. I was trying to think of what it was that was putting me off of this game, and it might just be the art style, but yeah, I don't know. It'll depend on once they do like a bigger sort of gameplay overview.
Like there is some sense of what the gameplay is in this trailer, but I still don't know for sure.
Then we got a nice big chunk of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League gameplay footage, which seems... Do you think you think this is a multiplayer game? Is this like an Avengers style game, or is this a single player like Guardians of the Galaxy, and you are just like swapping between people?
That's the $1 million question. Yeah. I mean, my guess would be it's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy style thing where you can just swap back and forth between the different Suicide Squad members. But maybe it is. Maybe it is an Avengers thing, but...
Because it seems like everyone plays so differently.
Yeah.
So it definitely there's that replay value. If you play through the campaign as one person, then you play through it as the next person with like your friends or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, is this something that has piqued your interest? I will say I'm not super into the Justice League as a thing.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't know if it's just because I think the DC movies have been so bad, but I've really been put off of DC things in general. So I don't know. I don't think I will play this, but I'm curious to see, like, if this ends up being sort of a Guardians of the Galaxy situation where it just kind of doesn't seem interesting at all, and then it comes out and everybody's like, oh, actually, no, you should play this because it's good.
Yeah, this is a big surprise.
Yeah, then maybe it'll have my attention, but for now, I don't really care.
We got some more footage of Forspoken, and actually, as we're recording this, the embargo just lifted on a private press thing that happened. Did you watch that? Any coverage of that private press conference about Forspoken for press?
Yeah, I know MinMax put up a video about it, and that Kyle Hilliard was able to like get into that, and he was talking a little bit about it. And the note that he came away with was that like the action and movement is very cool, but like the character is maybe a little annoying, and it's concerning that if he finds the character annoying and you're dealing with that character and their personality for the entire length of a game, that might be off-putting. But
it definitely looks interesting. Like I watched some of the footage from the like private presser, and the like spell mechanics look super cool, but I don't know. It has not really grabbed me yet for whatever reason. It also looks a little bit samey. Like all of the places you're jumping around are just these like jagged rocks, and there's not really like like pops of color anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll be interested to see.
It almost doesn't seem like a big open world necessarily.
No, it seems like a tech demo almost. Like it doesn't seem like a fully realized world to me.
And maybe they're just holding stuff back. I don't know, but like it's hard to say whether this is sort of an Assassin's Creed type of thing where you like are doing stuff in the real world and then you like go into this you portal into this old-timey universe where you're the assassin or whatever, and you're just like going around this map doing different things. But
that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something similar to that, but it's definitely like, I don't know, like they're trying to make the character like quirky and quippy. I think you can tell even from just trailers that that's sort of the vibe they're going for. And I kind of agree with Kyle Hilliard, even though I haven't like seen like a full like behind the scenes thing where they show off an extended thing of gameplay. But I also find it a little concerning that the character might get annoying after a while, but I guess we'll have to see.
Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Did you play Warhammer 40k Space Marine 1?
I played a little bit of it back on the 360, and I thought it was a cool game. I heard a lot of good things about it, but yeah, it's such a big universe. There's so many different games. I don't know enough about it.
Saints Row got a release date, 8/23/2022, unless it gets pushed back. The only Saints Row I've played, and I think you maybe played the same one, was the one that took place in the Matrix. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I haven't played any of them, but
The only one I played took place in the Matrix. So it I feel like Saints Row started as like this is Grand Theft Auto, but it's like a little bit funnier. Like you're gonna like drink energy drinks or whatever. And then by Saints Row 4 or whichever the one I played, they were fully like, oh, you're the president now, but aliens have abducted everyone in the world and put them into the Matrix. And I think they just call it the Matrix. So you have to like jack into the Matrix, and you're flying around the world map. Like people are like walking around glitched out, and you have like a dubstep gun that makes people like breakdance. That's my only experience with it. I did fully beat that game, and I'm also pretty sure the world explodes at the end of it. And I think you time travel, but that's why this one is a reboot. What do you think about this? Is this something you'll pick up?
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what else is out at the time, but I am interested in it just because of, like you said, it's basically a more over-the-top version of GTA. And those games are just like fun sandboxes to play around in. So I can see that definitely being the case for this as well. But I don't know about you, but this game does not look very next gen graphically to me.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it's not something I'm super interested in. Again, I guess it will probably depend on what's out when it comes out.
Yeah.
Who knows what the landscape will look like in August of next year,
Right.
after E3. But I don't know. Something I probably won't pick up is Fallout or Fall Guys Nightmare Before Christmas edition.
You've played
Crazy
Fall
that
Guys
Fallout
and I have
still
not.
happened. I downloaded it when it was like during the week and a half period everybody was playing it, and I was sure no one was playing anymore because it got taken over by Among Us. But I guess people are still playing it. That's cool or whatever. I probably will not, but good on them for still having new content.
Yeah, I mean, every like game as service thing now has holiday tie-in. So, and this one, if I was a Fall Guys person, this would be a fun one to check into because I do like Nightmare Before Christmas. So,
I agree. There was a Dune game that seems like it's going to be like a real-time strategy game.
Yeah, that's not my genre, but I mean, I think it's cool that like Dune is sort of expanding into this like big like cultural thing where games are being made, and like obviously the movie was pretty huge, and like whenever you go to a bookstore, like they've got the books everywhere now. So
now, speaking of muting the television, when they revealed this next game, who was it that came out with Ashley Birch? It was like some celebrity, right? Oh, it was Will Arnett.
Yeah.
I was confident I didn't want to hear anything. They were clearly doing a bit, and they were really going for it.
Oh, yeah.
But I went ahead and muted the TV for that. But I unmuted it for this trailer. I have never really been into a Borderlands-style game. I don't super like the art style. But is this something that is on your radar? Are you going to pick up Tiny Tina's Wonderland on March 25th, 2022?
I have only played the first Borderlands, and people do love those games.
It's true.
I don't know that it's my series. I mean, obviously, I've only played one of the games, so I don't feel drawn to this one. But
yeah, I don't know. I can't deal with that. It's very hard to get comedy right in video games.
Yeah.
And I feel like Borderlands is a prime example of that. People either really like it or they really don't like it, and it's very polarizing.
I think I can't remember who it was. It might have been Leo Vader at one point on one of the Min-Max shows where they were doing like a stream reaction to something, and it was a game. It might not have been this game, but it might have been a game like this that's going for a similar sense of humor. And he goes, I don't know. It seems like maybe this game's irreverent. And I was like, yeah. When you can tell when they're going for that tone, and sometimes they just try too hard, and it is just a little off-putting.
I wonder when we're gonna get a trailer for that Borderlands movie. Remember that's
Oh
happening and like
yeah,
Kate Blanchett is in it.
man, I forgot about that. That was like a big E3 thing too.
Yeah. Among Us is getting an official VR mode. This is something that I'll probably watch people on Twitch play, but I don't have a VR headset yet, so
Yeah.
I will not be doing that. But interesting. And then Zach Doka V took the stage.
Are you still into it after this like song and dance thing?
I like that song a lot. I have to say, that song gets me amped up. I am anti. I have to say, I'm a little bummed out. It's not open world, and we won't be able to play it together, and like get in miniature Hummers and drive around together and catch like a frog wearing a top hat. But I don't know. I think this is, at least at the very least, it's going to be a very fun game to watch people play. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a fun game to dive into myself, but
I will watch the quick looks about this
Yeah.
game when it comes out for sure. I don't know if I'll play it. I think watching this weird song and dance routine thing they had instead of like an actual trailer for this game was maybe the moment I was like, oh, maybe this game is not for me. Something about like the like childish doll art style they have going for like the character models, and the fact that they decided to have them on the stage singing and dancing was not my scene.
it's very Korean.
Yeah, very Korean for sure. I don't know, maybe the quick looks when they do like some crazy gameplay stuff will get me back into it, but for now I'm gonna
They still don't have a release date, right?
probably not. Yeah, I think this one's still relatively early on. It probably won't come out this next year, but
Let's see. Genshin Impact.
yeah, more content. I forget the actual addition that was happening here, but
There's like a new character, I think.
yeah, I just wrote in the notes, Genshin Impact is still a thing.
Steel Rising. Remind me what this is. I'm gonna look at this trailer.
This is that game by the developer of Greedfall, and it looks very sort of Westworldy, where it's very steampunk, and it looks like the Westworld robots, maybe without like their skin on. You know what I mean? When they're sort of coming out of
Yeah.
that goop.
I thought this was gonna be initially, before they revealed that it was like some kind of crazy mannequin. I thought this was gonna be that insane Pinocchio game that looks like Dark Souls. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's like some weird like Pinocchio Souls-like game that's coming out. That is like, I don't know why it's Pinocchio, but it looks like super hardcore.
Live for power up.
Yeah. But this looks fine to me. It looks cool. She's got like a clock that expands. I would check this out.
I have heard that this is going for like Dark Souls level difficulty. Is
Yeah.
maybe the one thing that has me a little hesitant about it, but otherwise I think it seems cool in every other way.
I agree with that. Lies of P is that one I was talking about. Let's actually pause for a second. I'm going to send you this trailer, and I'd like for you to watch it live with me.
Okay.
I'm going to put this right
We'll do it
here.
live.
Take a look at this, and let me know when you press play.
Play.
Okay. This teaser is made with pre-alpha footage.
Pinocchio X Dark Souls X Bioshock.
You can hear some clanking in the background of this. Not the regular story of Pinocchio for sure.
Where's Geppetto?
Pretty spooky so far.
Yeah, this is like Pinocchio exists in the Bloodborne universe.
Yeah, it is actually very Bloodborne. Creepy music.
The name of it is Lies of P?
He's a liar. Pinocchio's a liar.
Yeah, but not even his full name. He's just P. Man, when is this coming out?
I don't know, but it doesn't look insane.
It does look insane. Oh, man. It's very Bloodborne. So Geppetto made him a real boy who can attack the crazy monster people of Bloodborne.
It looks basically like, it almost kind of looks like Sekiro at points, because you seem to have a grappling hook.
Man, this is insane and intense. Oh, he's got like a grappling hook attached to his arm.
Yeah. Well, he's a puppet.
Yeah, maybe swap out parts of like his porcelain body.
I think there's a part at the end. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I bet that's an upgraded arm that he uses to punch through a gate.
Look at this thing.
Now, the twist ending of this is that Geppetto made all of the things that he asked Mr. P there to fight.
Now that's interesting.
That is a bizarre game that I did not know existed until just now.
Yeah. Get ready for that.
Oh, it does say next year. So actually, it says
back to the Game Awards
this year. Never mind.
Yeah, I feel like I saw this trailer a long time ago, but Rocket League is getting a phone game. We don't super have to talk about that, right. But this Star Trek game seemed like another Telltale game to me, where like you're kind of walking around and making decisions.
I think it is a
Star Trek Resurgence.
Telltale game, or at least if not, it's definitely supposed to be in that vein. Where are you at with Star Trek these days?
I like it. I have not watched any of the new ones on Paramount Plus because they all seem stupid and bad to me.
I would agree with that, yeah.
I'll always watch some Next Gen or some Deep Space Nine or some Voyager if it's on. Not that I have television and I can just like switch channels, but
what can you glean from the uniforms?
Good question.
The real question is this the JJ verse? Because if it's the JJ verse, I'm out.
Well, Spock is in it.
The universe or the uniforms look to be sort of Voyager era. Or like...
And I mean, that definitely is someone trying to pretend to be Spock, or like is Spock.
Yeah.
So he's dead.
Actually, this gameplay does not resemble Telltale style, but maybe...
Yeah, you're kind of just like... It seems to be third person, but it's a little bit of a walking simulator maybe, but you do have a tricorder and a phaser at some points. I don't know. I'm interested in this. I would like to see more.
Yeah, and you have the choice to follow orders or disobey, so... Yeah, I'm interested as well. I'll wait and see on it. Releasing in spring 2022.
Yeah, right around the corner. Yeah. Rumbleverse.
So this is
something else I don't remember.
This is a fighting game that's a battle royale, but the fighting is more like WWE, like wrestling style fighting.
Yeah, and this was fully a CG trailer, so we don't really get to see any gameplay.
You do a little bit. Well, I think you get to see the in-game art style towards the end, not necessarily actual gameplay. Oh, really? But I saw Giant Bomb did a video on this the other day, actually, as we're recording this, where they were playing... They must have had like some sort of access to like preview access. And they were playing it, and it does not seem super up my alley. I'm not super into battle royales to begin with, but I also don't super love the art style, and I'm not really a wrestling fan, so... It is free to play, though, so if you're into that sort of thing, I think this is supposed to come out next year at some point, so be on the lookout for that.
Did you play the first Plague Tale? I remember people saying it was really good, but I never picked it up.
I kept meaning to, because I want to say this was like one of those free PlayStation Plus games of the month at one point.
I think you're right about that. I added
it to my library, but I've not played it. I think it is also on Game Pass, so like I have no good reason for having not played it, but I have not gotten around to it. But yeah, like I've also heard really good things about it, so I might try to... I'm not sure how long it is, but I might try to play through it before this game comes out.
Dying Light, I don't even remember them talking about.
I don't remember either, but my notes don't lie, so it must have been in there
It's
somewhere.
true. Crossfire, I want to say, was some sort of game with guns.
Yeah, I think this is a Chinese-made sort of Call of Duty style game that has been like huge in Asian markets and is just now getting a release in the US. And I want to say it's also supposed to be sort of like a Microsoft exclusive or like console exclusive.
Oh.
So not super interesting to me, but they showed some of it. So
then they showed some Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which
I thought this had already come out.
We talked about this on a previous episode. Yeah, they did an alpha or like a beta kind of a thing where a bunch of people played it and were like, "Oh, this is actually not super good." This is, I guess, coming in spring 2022, and maybe they've taken some feedback. But we talked about this where like there was that Shadowrun game for 360 or like during that era where it's such like a rich universe, and they were basically just like, "Oh, this is going to be just like a deathmatch game." And this is another thing where it's like, "Oh, Vampire the Masquerade's pretty interesting, but instead of it being an RPG, let's just make it a battle royale for some reason." I really don't know why they took the IP in this direction, but I don't know. I have not watched anybody play this during the beta, but I'm not super interested in it.
Are they still doing an RPG, or did that die in
Yeah,
favor
Vampire
of
the
this?
Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is still on the horizon, but it's been delayed indefinitely.
Oh, okay.
And then Halo, the TV show.
How interested are you in this?
I am pretty confident I will never subscribe to Paramount Plus.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That being said, it does look pretty nice, although any scene where where Master Chief is in the shot and he's in the armor looks a little bit cartoonish to me. I don't know that they have nailed, maybe they have, and I just need to look at it more, but I don't know that they've nailed the like armor being a real thing that doesn't just look like a costume.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing when you've got like in video games it's very common to have like big armored people, and they've never quite been able to translate that to real life when it comes to like live action movies or TV shows, at least not in a convincing way. It always looks a little bit off. So I'm curious, and this would go for Mass Effect as well if they do that. I would be curious. Actually, the best thing they could do, and I'm now on a Mass Effect side tangent, if they want to do Mass Effect like armor, just look at the Expanse. Like
That's a
the
good idea.
armor and stuff they've got in that show looks very sort of Mass Effect-y, so.
Did you see that Henry Cavill came out and he was like, "I want to be in the Mass Effect show, make it happen"?
Yeah, I am into that, but I still hope that they don't just go the route of adapting the trilogy. I want just him, he can be in it, but as part of an ensemble cast and with some sort of story that does not have anything to do with Shepard or the Reapers.
That would be great. That's the dream. Hopefully they are smart enough to realize that as well.
Yeah.
No aliens in this Halo TV show trailer.
Yeah, and it is TV, so I guess like we'll have to hope that they do a good job of like making the Covenant look right.
I don't know, man. There's like 2 shots in that trailer where Master Chief is hanging out in his Spartan armor, and I just like... It's not sold. It looks like plastic to me, but maybe they will get it right. I don't know. Maybe I need to see it in action. Do you think it's going to be a Mandalorian type of thing where he never takes off the helmet?
I mean, it has to be, right?
That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I know like Hollywood has this problem where even when it's a character like the Mandalorian or someone like that who's not supposed to take their helmet or mask off ever, they still are like, yeah, but we need to see the human emotions on their face, so we're going to find a way to take it off all the time. And it's just like, no, you're not supposed to do that.
Elden Ring is coming out February 25th. Everybody knows about Elden Ring. But Arc Riders was super interesting to me. What did you think of this?
So this is the a new studio by a bunch of like ex-Battlefield developers, and I am super into this. I like they've got this sort of 80s aesthetic almost. And it looks like sort of old time sci-fi, but I think it's also like so it's a third person like sci-fi shooter, and you seem to be on sort of like a desert like planet maybe, and you're fighting drones and stuff.
It seems like there are like drops that happen. So like you're hanging out in this world and people are always watching the radar because like from orbit these things are just dropping down that you have to go deal with.
Yeah. And maybe you're like looting gear and equipment and stuff.
It looks cool though because it seems to be this like shared world thing where you and a bunch of other players are just like out in this expanse and you're just like getting rid of all these robots that are coming. It's kind of a little bit like Destiny in that way where you're sort of just in this open area and then like, events are happening.
Yeah, it almost made me think of Anthem but without the Iron Man suits.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree with that.
And instead of like monstrous creatures you're fighting, they're just like drones. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think maybe this was the thing I was the most into that they showed this whole night.
I was excited about this. It looked pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I mean there's not much we know about it at this point, but I am definitely excited to see more from this game.
Now you have PS5, so did you download this Matrix they did?
I downloaded it. I didn't run it because I am running a different game and I didn't want to stop it and have to reload everything. So out of pure laziness, I have not played this. But
I watched someone play through it.
Yeah, I watched some footage from it.
The like scripted part is fine, but the part that's really interesting is when it goes open world afterward and they show you the technology behind it. And this was
it's basically a tech
pretty
demo.
Eye-popping. Yeah. It was pretty interesting to me. I going around that world and seeing all the high fidelity, and you can like turn off like people and cars and stuff, and like change the direction of the sun and whatnot in real time. It was pretty cool looking, and obviously it is just like a walking simulator, so they didn't have to program that much as far as like interactivity, but just like the world, the structure of everything looks so realistic.
Yeah, so this is Unreal Engine 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I forget who I was watching. It might have been the MinMax people. I'm always watching them, but they were talking about it, and they were like, okay, whoever's developing, or I mean it's Rockstar, but if you're working on GTA 5, or not 5, GTA 6 right now, like look at this. Make this, but like make it GTA. To go back to Saints Row, that looks decidedly not very next gen in comparison. I don't know, man. This looked cool. I mean, I guess I don't know anything about development, so I don't know if they would have to cut corners to make a game like a GTA set in a big, like very, very realistic looking world like that, but it was certainly impressive.
For sure. And I think I think Keeley really wanted to end on something super impressive, but I don't know that it came across in the video. Like definitely afterwards when I watched people play this demo and they were just like flying around this world, it was super impressive. But in the moment I was just like, man, I really wanted that one more thing. And they didn't have it. They were just like, well, today, this is the end. So, here's the game of the year and that's it.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a bummer, but I don't know. Overall, what did you think of the show?
I mean, I would say it's like a 6 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo basically was non-existent at the show.
There was a brief, like 30-second thing where they were like, hey, also Nintendo stuff is around. And they showed like literally 10 seconds of footage from Breath of the Wild 2 that we've seen.
Yeah.
And like some like of that Rabbids game that's coming out. That does look super cool and I will check out. But yeah, they didn't really have a presence here. Like Reggie was there, but he obviously is not affiliated with Nintendo anymore.
Well, and the guy that took his place, Doug Bowser, did go up to accept an award. But I mean, They didn't have any announcements.
Did he get emotional during that? I muted it whenever someone's accepting awards, but it looked like he was like pretty happy about the win or whatever.
I mean, I think he was happy. I don't remember what he said. I don't remember him being emotional about it, though.
Okay. Maybe I just misread his face cues.
Yeah.
But do you want to briefly go over all the winners?
Sure. So, Game of the Year, that's the big one. I went to It Takes Two, which I thought was a huge surprise. What about you?
I mean, I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard multiple people, and maybe they were just repeating what somebody else said, but multiple people unrelated, I read online, said it was like the best co-op game of the last decade, which is high praise. I'm trying to think of other like super good co-op games, but I mean...
That were like, you had to play in co-op?
Yeah, like what's another like two-person game that just like blew your mind? Is there one? I can't think of one.
I mean,
the
developer of It Takes Two, their previous like game or two were also like this style of like co-op
Very
thing.
True.
But I don't think they.
It was surprising to me.
They didn't quite hit as hard as It Takes Two. I mean, the only like mainly co-op games that I can think of from the past are like the Army of Two games on the 360 that I played in college with one of my roommates.
Yeah.
But
it makes me really want to play this game because I have heard again from multiple people that like it is like the most fun you can have playing a game with someone else.
But I've also heard that the story is like a big bummer and like it's also like not a great family game if you're going to play this with like a young one in your family.
It's about divorce.
Because it's about divorce, and I haven't played this game, but I think that it ends unhappily. So
yeah, I would agree with you.
So I don't know. Like I remember watching, I think it was Giant Bomb did like a quick look on this game back when it first came out, and like one of the guys that was playing it was like super not into it and was just like maybe it's because he had like personal experience, but he was like very anti the story and the direction they were going that way with it, to the point where he was like basically recommending not playing it. And so that sort of colored my perception of It Takes Two ever since then. I was like, oh well, maybe this is not a good thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I've also heard it's very satisfying in terms of like co-op mechanics, so I guess it's good in that regard. But
again, though, I mean, we talked about this before the Game Awards. There was not really a standout game. Even Deathloop, which was like kind of what I expected to win, wasn't like the craziest. Like it didn't hit as hard. I feel like more people were talking about It Takes Two, so I kind of get that. But
I don't know. I
think if there had been a standout,
like just in terms of maybe it's who I follow, but I definitely thought I heard more people talking about Metroid Dread and for longer than It Takes Two. But maybe I just am not following the people that were playing.
That's
It
true.
Takes
Well,
Two.
I follow like 3 different people on Twitch, and all 3 of them played It Takes Two. But also, like 2 of them, one of them doesn't super play Nintendo stuff, but 2 of them played Metroid Dread, and I feel like only had good things to say about Metroid Dread. And so it is a little bit surprising. Maybe it's just because it's shorter of an experience. I don't know.
Well, and I also remember that like when Deathloop came out, it was getting like perfect scores from outlets, and I remember that being a huge deal. But I also feel like the conversation around Deathloop kind of soured as people started to get towards the end of that game, in a way that made the story seem kind of weird and maybe not as satisfying as you might hope. But and then, I think Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet and Clank are both good games, but they're not like clear-cut, oh, these are like your Game of the Year style games.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a little surprised that there was not more love for Resident Evil Village, because I feel like the Resident Evil like fandom is like massive, and that Resident Evil Village is like one of the better examples of that franchise. So it kind of struck me as surprising. Like, to be honest, if I had to rank these in order of the games I thought was most likely to win this category, I think It Takes Two would have been on the bottom.
Really?
And yet it ended up being the winner.
What
if we
else?
go down the list, I did. If you're looking for it, I set a link in our show notes for it on the winners.
Oh, I didn't realize this was a link.
And so game direction, Deathloop did win that one. That's that sort of nebulous category that nobody really understands. Best narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought this could go to Life is Strange, but I maybe pleasantly surprised it went to Guardians of the Galaxy, just because I think this game sort of surprised a lot of people.
It makes me want to play it. Like, everyone has said, like, oh, this is such a nice surprise, such a breath of fresh air. I really want to go back to it and try to... I probably will try to pick it up next year.
Can I admit something?
Yeah.
I did start it.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you like it? Is it good?
So this is the game that I started on PS5 and did not want to close because in order to run that Matrix thing.
Oh, you couldn't put it down?
Well, I couldn't put it down, but also, like, I don't want to, like, when you go back to the ship, there's basically the characters are talking just all the time, just having these little side conversations, and I didn't want to cut them off, you know what I mean? To, like, close it and then reload it and, like, pick up the conversation again later. Actually, as a Mass Effect fan, like, the next Mass Effect needs to take its cues from this game when it comes to, like, crew conversations. So when you are just walking around your ship in Guardians of the Galaxy, like, you'll just overhear Drax having a conversation with Rocket. And it'll be, like, funny because you get, like, the two characters and their personalities. And then, like, I'll go ask Rocket to, like, give me some upgrades on the workbench. And just, like, as I'm doing that, I will hear Drax in the background having walked over to the door to start banging on the door to talk to Groot and tell him something. And then he'll just walk away again. And so there's this, like... It's like a living ship, right? It's not static, where in Mass Effect, like, all the characters are standing in one spot the whole time. And you just go around.
Yeah, you're never going to find Dr. Chakwas, like, hanging out talking to Joker.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought this game just, like, did a really, really good job of making it feel not static. And, like, it's constantly moving and people are having conversations around you. And
how's the combat?
The combat is just sort of so far. I'm not super far into it. I've done a few missions and gone back to the ship and everything. I definitely want to play more of it before we do our top 10, so I kind of have a better idea of whether this game is going to make my top 10 or where I should put it if it does. But I've been very impressed with it so far. And the thing that I was surprised about, because I kind of, like, just watching the trailers for this game, I was kind of not sure if I was going to like the take on those characters, just because, like, the MCU version is the one that you immediately go to in your head when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy. But, like, 2 minutes in to this thing, I was already like, okay, this is the version of these characters. And I was just kind of good with it, and it didn't bother me.
Does it have the music from the movies where it's, like, all 80s stuff?
Well, the movies, I feel like they went more like 60s, 70s. This is just the 80s, like, just straight up 80s rock music. And actually, there's, like, a scene, you have sort of a flashback early in the game. Like, it's one of the first scenes. And you're a kid, probably in, like, middle school or high school, and you're, like, listening to this rock album that is, I want to say, a made-up rock album that they made specifically for this game, by a band called Star-Lord, which is like the inspiration, obviously, for his, you know, superhero name or whatever. And you have a little conversation with your mom, and then you get up and you walk around the room and you're looking at all these different items, and it's like pop culture stuff. And he's, like, having this little memory of, like, oh yeah, here's that game system where, you know, I played games with my friends or whatever. And it kind of gives you this, like, sense of, like, this is, like, that Kids on a Bike thing where you have like a character who's just like hanging out in his parents' basement talking about like all the cool like sci-fi movies and games, and like dreaming of like, you know, some sort of sci-fi adventure, and then eventually he is basically on a sci-fi adventure. And so that like somehow or another that like really endeared the character to me in a way that I don't think the movies ever did, with their flashbacks to like the Chris Pratt version of the character. So I don't know. I recommend it. Again, I like the one note I have heard is that the combat is nothing to write home about, but like the story and character and writing is excellent. And so far, like even not being super far into it, I can definitely agree with that.
Now I really want to play it. Is it on PS4?
I believe so. Double check me. I picked up the PS5 version, but I do believe it's on...
Lucky.
I do believe it's on PS4, and if not, it's on PC.
What else?
Oh, you could stream it on your Switch.
Yeah, I could do that. Metroid Dread got Best Action Adventure Game. Weird that there's a Best Action Adventure Game and a Best Action Game.
Yeah. Yeah. So when Metroid Dread won Best Action Adventure, that was the thing that Doug Bowser talked about when he went to accept the award. He like, in a weird way, I remember because they commented on it because I was watching the Mid-Max stream, and they commented on it. It was like, yes, you've just defined action and adventure. Like, you know, Webster's dictionary defines action and adventure. It was like a really weird way of like breaking it down for no reason when he was accepting the award. It was funny.
Interesting.
I don't think he meant for it to be funny. It was just funny.
That's the Reggie magic, though. I wonder if he's trying to recapture that, where like I feel like the reason Reggie was so popular was just he's like a really weird guy.
Yeah. He has not reached Reggie levels of being loved by the fans yet, so
yeah,
he's got some work to do.
Forza Horizon 5 got Innovation Accessibility, which I think is a really cool category, and also Best Sports Racing Game.
Best
Are any of these other
Best Indie Game. Were you surprised at all that it went to Kana instead of Inscryption?
Yes, because I feel like no one is playing that Kana game because no one has a PS5, but everybody's talking about Inscryption.
Yeah, and even like the critics have been like championing Inscryption like it's the next coming, and yet somehow or another Kana was the one that won.
That was weird. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
What else do we have in here? We already talked about best action game. Did we say it was Returnal that won?
Yes, yeah. Which you played, right?
I've played some of that's one of those games that I need to go back to and play more of. It's like I've said this on the podcast before, but it just sort of came out at a weird time where I was in the middle of other games, and so I didn't give it enough time to really have some sort of judgment on it. But I think the like sound design in that game is really good. Best RPG, Tales of Arise. I was very happy about this because actually,
yes, I remember you saying it was great.
In our show notes, I was planning on talking about this at least a little bit because I did finish Tales of Arise here within the last week, and it's very good. It's very long. It's actually the kind of game that a few years ago when I maybe bought fewer games but spent more time playing the fewer games I had, this is the kind of game I would have put like 100 or more hours into, and it easily would have accommodated that because there's so much to it, but by the end I started trying to like rush through it because there was other games I was trying to get to. But yeah, I really liked it. I like the characters, I like the combat. Like I said in a previous podcast, this is sort of the that Final Fantasy VII remake for me this year.
Watching
just like
right now.
just like an action RPG with great characters, and you can swap back and forth between your party members at any time, and sort of a cool story that's got some twists and turns in it, and I really like the characters by the end, and yeah, I recommend Tales of Arise for sure.
I like the Guilty Gear series, even though I can't play them. I played a Guilty Gear game for like PS2, I want to say. I used to rent it from Blockbuster over and over again because it was so fun to me. And I would just mash the buttons and play. But I love the art style of these Guilty Gear games. All the characters are insane. And to watch like really good people play it is super fun. And so I was happy that it got best fighting game.
Yeah, I saw people playing this game earlier this year too, and I was blown away by the art style and just how crazy it looks. But I'm not a big fighting game person, but this definitely, just based maybe on art style alone, was like the thing that I was rooting for in this category.
Any other big takeaways? Best VR game was Resident Evil 4, which people have said is really great. It's only available on Oculus Quest 2 for now, but hopefully at some point it'll come out for like more open source VR, like Steam VR.
Yeah, were you surprised at all that It Takes Two won Best Multiplayer Game?
No, I was not, because I knew that it was going to be. I feel like that was a shoo-in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where multiplayer as a category is sort of a weird one, because you can have something that's like a co-op story driven thing, or you could have something that's like Halo Infinite, but Halo Infinite was not nominated because I think it released too late. But like you can have that sort of a multiplayer experience as well, and I don't know how you put the two up against each other. But
yeah, anything else you want to hit on before we get into what we're playing?
Most anticipated game, I don't think this was a surprise, it went to Elden Ring.
I thought it was going to be Breath of the Wild too.
Oh, really?
And then I thought he was going to be like, and guess what? But I was wrong.
Yeah, that would have worked. Maybe they canceled it because it didn't win most anticipated game.
Yeah, kind of a bummer. We didn't talk about this, but also a pot came on stage. That was pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah, from Elden Ring. And it was weird watching that part because Keeley, it seemed like this was not the stage note, but it seemed like Keeley was afraid to get too close to it because he was giving it a wide berth a little bit. If you go back and watch that segment,
yeah,
it cracked me up a little bit.
Yeah, let's we went a little long this week, but there was a lot to talk about. But let's talk about briefly what we've been watching / playing.
I hear you've been playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Zach, it's true. Last week I told you I bought that new TV and it's great. And so I was like, you know what? I put down Cyberpunk at a kind of like the midpoint of that game. I'm going to pick it back up and I'll play it on Stadia on my TV. Looks great. It's very fun. Man, I like that game a lot. I'm not really doing story missions. I'm kind of just like wandering around doing side missions and, you know, enjoying the game mechanics in general. But I really, really like it. I'm going to continue to play it, and I might even beat it by the end of the year.
I really like Cyberpunk. Yeah, this was like a big part of January of this year for me. Was like I was grinding through Yakuza Like a Dragon and Cyberpunk before I got to anything actually new for 2021. And yeah, this was definitely a top 5 game for me last year. I know it got out to a rough start, and so that put a sour taste in everybody's mouth, but like when you get past like the performance issues, which maybe you'll have to tell me how it's doing performance wise these days.
I haven't had any. I mean, I know they've patched it a bunch. Now I'm also playing it on Stadia, so I'm not technically playing on I'm playing it on a fairly good system because I'm on like the Google servers. So
well, yeah, and I
had a couple glitches.
Like the Stadia version, notably, like when Cyberpunk first came out, was like everybody was saying, if you're gonna play this game, play it on Stadia because it seems to be the one platform that's not running into like a crazy amount of issues. And during the first time I played it, I did have some crazy glitches. Yeah, where I would like try to climb into a window and get shot halfway across the map, but since I've picked it up in the last couple of days, I haven't had any, and it's been pretty fun, I have to say. I haven't had any glitches except for driving is always terrible in that game. Yeah. But other than that, it's been a joy to play. Yeah, so maybe we'll have to check in with you again later and see if you are able to finish it through over Christmas, I guess. But
I might.
The next thing you got to do is you got to do the Stadia Pro sub just long enough to get a feel for how the 4K 60 looks on your TV.
I have been thinking about that a lot. I wonder if I should. I probably will break down and end up doing it this weekend. I also just bought a new router as well, so I'm trying to like not spend as much money until January because I bought a bunch of like Christmas presents also.
Yeah.
But it's only $10 and I can cancel it whenever, so I don't know
Right.
why I'm not doing it.
Plus, like, while you're sub to Stadia Pro, you can like claim all those pro games.
It's true. I think Control is
Yeah,
on Stadia Pro right
Control's
now,
one of
and I'd
the-
love to see
yeah.
that in 4K.
That would be awesome.
60
Actually,
frames.
I should try that too. Jump back
I
into
love
that
that
game and start playing it again. The other thing I have been playing that I haven't already mentioned in the show is the Halo Infinite campaign. And
Yes.
I am really, really liking it. It's very cool. It's one of those things where I don't really know the story of Halo very well, so it's more like that's just the big bad dude, and he wants he's doing bad things, and he wants to kill Master Chief, so I gotta go kill him. And that is basically the extent of my knowledge of what's happening in this universe. I know Cortana is somewhere out there, and that's a bad
She's
thing, and I gotta deal with that too, but and that's enough, to be honest. Like, I'm just enjoying like, to an extent it feels a little bit like Doom, where I never know what's going on in the Doom games. I'm just running through these different set pieces, like killing demons with crazy, increasingly powerful weapons. And to an extent, that's basically how I'm playing through Halo Infinite, but instead of it being level based, it's sort of semi-open world. It's sort of like regions. Like, you get these sort of open worldy regions that you're sort of going to, and it's cool because you can like bring up the map and sort of Far Cry style. You'll be like, hey, here's an encampment to go clear out, and if you clear it out and you hit this button, you now have like a place you can fast travel to, and you can have like your military troops there with you, and you can like grab some weapons and grab like a vehicle and then head back out. And they're
Sounds
like
right up my
they're
alley.
like high value targets. Like, I was growing tired of Far Cry, but like not necessarily the formula of Far Cry, just like the Far Cry games in general. But like, to have that style of game sort of ported over to the Halo universe is something that's like, I don't know, it's kind of a match made in heaven almost. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. It looks super interesting to me. I've played a little bit more of the multiplayer just on my own, and I continue to love it.
Yeah.
And I am excited to dive into this whenever I can. I think like Cyberpunk has its hooks in me right now, but upon completion of that, I think I am going to dive into this campaign. Although it's a bummer that multiplayer doesn't come out until like May. Co-op. I should say campaign co-op.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But I gotta say that grapple is like the coolest thing. So I kind of bounce back and forth between Destiny 2 and the Halo Infinite campaign over the last like week or two, because I was working on the new like 30th anniversary event that they have going on. And so when I first jumped from Destiny 2 to Halo, I kept trying to jump and like, you know, do the double jump where I'm a warlock and I'm like flying around. But of course you can't do that in Halo. That doesn't work. But then when I jumped from Halo back to Destiny, I kept trying to grapple in Destiny, and I was so bummed that I couldn't do it. It's so much fun to just like shoot your grapple at an enemy and melee them. And I gotta say, that Mauler pistol and that gun, like, not great in PvP, but it's like the go-to weapon in the campaign.
Really?
I'm just like headshotting everything and taking everything down really quickly with it. Plus it has like I want to say like extra damage for melee. And so when I grapple an enemy and it like pulls me towards them and I melee them or like shoot them once and then melee them, it's like that's it for them. They're dead. So it's very, very fun to play around with the grapple. And I gotta say, having never really been a Halo person, this game is making me a Halo person.
That's exciting.
So, yeah.
I am excited to play it. I'm excited to hear more about your trials and tribulations inside it.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about it, I'm sure, when we reconvene in January.
Yes. We'll have a top 10 discussion as well for 2021.
Yep.
But for now, we've gone a little bit over, so I think we should wrap it up.
Okay. No parting wisdom for this week?
Parting wisdom is always good to have a cat. That's probably been my parting wisdom before, but I love my cat.
Yeah, and you know what? You should have a cat Instagram for your cat.
I should do that. I have 400 pictures of this cat.
Yeah. Gotta be putting those up. The fans want to see the cat.
It's true. All right, well, until next time, I have been Aaron, and this has been... Well, and you're Zach also.
I am. That's true.
And this has been another episode of Starside Chat.
We will see you in 2022.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.